So that one is the anterior vena cava. We'll do the veins first. Comes up here and splits into two big brachiocephalic veins. And then the brachiocephalic vein comes out here. And then the bigger continuation, which actually this loses its injection over here, but that's the external jugular vein. And then there's a little internal jugular that comes off, but then it loses its injection. So the bigger one is the external jugular. I wish it was nicely injected, but it's not out here. So then the other branch that's coming off here and going out into the arm is this one. Okay. And initially when it comes off, it is the subclavian vein. Then when it gets out into the middle of the arm, it is the axillary vein. And then when it gets way out here into the arm, it is brachial vein. So subclavian, axillary in the middle, brachial out here. The only big branch that's coming off here and going forward is going to be the subscapular vein. Okay. And then actually a little thing that's not very well injected coming off the external jugular up in this area is going to be transverse scapular vein. There'll be an artery that parallels it, so that'll help. Okay. In terms of the arteries, the big one that's coming off the arch of the aorta is the brachiocephalic artery. It divides into three branches, and Gabby's is a little bit different than some of the others, but that first branch here is going to be the left common carotid. It's going to go up the left side of the neck. And if you lift up the anterior vena cava, you can see a big part right here. Usually it branches so you can see all three together here, but say Gabby's is a little bit different. So anyway, there's that big one, and if I lift it up here and go all the way up here, then it finally does branch. And so this one would be the right subclavian that would be going out to the right arm, and then the other one here would be the right common carotid that's going up the right side of the neck. So hers just branches a little bit later. Say usually all three of those, right subclavian, right common carotid, left common carotid, usually all branch at about the same time, but it doesn't. So then if we follow, okay, so that's the brachiocephalic. The other vein, the other artery over here that's coming off independently off the arch of the aorta is your left subclavian. And then there are going to be three branches off that left subclavian. And these are small, but the first one, it's hard to show. Anyway, it's coming off right there and going down deep. When I pull this up, you can see that there's an artery right there. That's going to be the vertebral artery. And then just ahead of it, up here, coming off and going down deep, I haven't separated that very well, but is this costocervical artery. And then the third branch off the subclavian there is one called the thyrocervical artery, which it gets buried a little bit here in some of these, by some of the veins, but if I come here, there's this, you can see this red artery right up here. So it's coming off the subclavian up here, and then it goes underneath all of these veins, and then it starts to emerge there. So that's thyrocervical artery, but then when that thyrocervical artery comes out here and begins to bend deep down into the shoulder, it's paralleling this vein right here that's not very well injected. This was transverse scapular vein, and so that artery, the thyrocervical, when it bends deep into the shoulder, it becomes the transverse scapular vein artery. Okay, so up in here it would be thyrocervical. When it goes down into the shoulder and parallels this vein, they would both be then transverse scapular. And then the subclavian, once it gives off vertebral, costocervical, thyrocervical, then it bends into the arm, And once again, the upper area here would still be subclavian. The middle area here would be axillary, just like the vein. And then when the artery gets way out here into the arm, it's going to be brachial, just like the brachial vein. So subclavian vein and artery, they parallel one another. And again, the names are going to be the same. Subclavian up here, axillary in the middle, brachial here. Now, we were saying that this is the subscapular vein that comes off way up here off the subclavian. Okay, the subscapular artery comes off at a little bit deeper level. So that artery there that you can see coming off the axillary and going right down deep there, that is going to be your subscapular artery. So again, it finally parallels, up here, obviously the subscapular vein comes off way up here, subscapular artery comes off down here, but again, you can see that they parallel one another, so the name is going to be the same.